Mother of a 12-year-old boy who says her son's secondary school isn't taking the racial abuse he experiences seriously enough. She's told us how some white pupils have claimed they have a pass to use offensive language. Well, it's prompted calls for better education. The school in question says it takes such allegations seriously and they are fully investigated. Now, we must warn you that Sophia Seth's report contains offensive language.
The racism at school has made me feel disappointed, uncomfortable, frustrated and at times angry. I don't feel supported by the teachers who are supposed to be there to protect me. I don't feel listened to. This makes me feel isolated.
That's the account of a 12-year-old boy who has black heritage voiced by an actor. The boy has experienced racist abuse at school over the past 2 years. I met his mum, who we are calling Claire, and have changed her voice to protect identities.
He's changed as a child. He's not as happy as he was.
She says the first incident followed a disagreement with a white pupil in the classroom, which escalated with that pupil's siblings getting involved.
They began taunting him, calling him names, both regarding what he looks like and his skin colour.
What did they say?
They called him the N-word, and he also got a bottle of drink poured over his head, and he burst into tears when he got home. I then called the school and informed them, gave names. We were told they would look into it, but then there was no follow-up. Nothing had been done about it.
Claire said there were more incidents to follow.
Just random children would walk past him and say the N-word. Their excuse for saying it was that they know somebody of colour, so they have the pass to say it. And in school, they're calling it the N-pass. He's been called other names like black.
And does it happen often?
I would say at least 8 to 10 times.
And has he spoken to the teachers?
There are times where he does tell the teachers, but again, he doesn't feel that he's heard, so he just comes home and tells me.
She says that she does report the cases to the school, but doesn't believe they get properly investigated, and if they do punish an offender, it's not serious enough. One of those examples was after her son was called a racist term in front of the class, and Claire says the offender was only given a day of isolation, which she says is the same punishment a student would get if they wear the wrong uniform. Why do you think the school isn't handling it properly?
I think it's a predominantly white school. I don't know if they have got the education. They don't really understand the impact that it's having on someone, constantly being picked at because of the colour of their skin.
She also believes her son is treated differently by some teachers because of his skin colour. Her son gave me this account.
One time, I followed a fight, and so did half the school, and because they could only recognise me on the CCTV out of everyone who was there, I got suspended with the 2 boys who had the fight. They said the reason I was suspended was because I led the swarm.
Was your son involved in the fight?
No, but he was just a bystander, as was half of the school. My son did manage to get hold of one of the recordings that someone had taken, and not once could I see my son anywhere near it. Not once could I hear him. And I don't work at the school, but there was plenty of children that I could recognise. It was a bit shocking to me that it was just my son that they were able to pick out.
Claire sent that video to the school, but she said nothing happened.
I would like to see a bit more equality, fairness. I understand that children, teenage boys especially, are going to push the boundaries a little bit, but I expect all parties involved to receive the same punishment.
She also says that on a school trip, her son wore his expensive trainers, and Claire was contacted by the safeguarding team asking where he got them from, as they wanted to confirm his claim that they were a birthday present. She confirmed it was.
And then I got a reply saying, "Thank you for confirming that. It's just that a very expensive pair of trainers like those could be a sign of grooming." That got my back up again, because just because he's black, is it a sign of grooming?
In an email response to Claire, the school said their questioning had nothing to do with race, but when Claire asked for a record of how many people get asked the same questions, they said they don't hold a record. Do you honestly think that incident was race-related?
Yes, because I see children walking around in Moncler coats and they have AirPods and expensive bits and bobs, and never have I heard that they have had phone calls home.
A race equality consultant believes this is a case of unconscious bias.
The presumption that something criminal has taken place with a boy who's clearly from, a black family. Young black boys have got a bad rep, And if they're in amongst other boys, they will be picked out first.
And when it comes to kids bullying kids, Don John also believes many schools don't handle racial bullying cases well. He says he gets half a dozen parents contacting him every few months.
Even though schools have got a so-called zero tolerance for abuse and racial abuse, sometimes they don't really put that into action. We believe that they should really be able to identify individuals or an individual who the pupils or the parents can go to in order to discuss the child's condition.
Charities agree it's a big problem across all types of bullying.
There's a really big range of the way that schools are dealing with bullying, and that's not acceptable.
What are you doing as a charity to try and help this then?
We provide training to over 40,000 staff each year, and that includes work around implicit bias, understanding bullying and difference. And we also have a series of policy recommendations. So we're calling on government to do more research into racist bullying.
We've approached the school, which we are not naming, to protect the identity of the child. It's told us, while it would not be appropriate to comment on an individual child, the comments made do not accurately represent the full picture, nor do they reflect our commitment to our pupils' happiness, inclusion and welfare. The safety and well-being of all pupils in school is always our absolute priority, and we have robust safeguarding and child protection policies in place to that effect. It also said that any allegations of such behaviour would always be treated extremely seriously and fully investigated. For Claire, she still worries about the future.
It infuriates me, to be honest with you, because, I am sending my child to school to get an education like every other child is entitled to. So I don't feel that he should be picked out just because he's got darker skin.
Well, earlier I asked Naomi Evans from the campaign Everyday Racism whether she thought school leaders take racist abuse seriously enough.
I think there are school leaders that take it seriously. I don't think there are enough. I also think there are other constraints, things like budgets, and also the appetite from the government is not to see this work implemented. And I think that is deterring some schools.
We're nearly a quarter of a way through the 21st century here. Are you disappointed that more progress hasn't been made?
Yes, I am disappointed because I'm seeing some of the same things that I dealt with as a student. I went through the UK state education system and I'm still seeing some of these same things perpetuated, lack of representation in the curriculum, overt racism, lots of microaggressions and things like that. So it is disappointing.
What would you like to see schools do?
We need to see teachers equipped with the training and the skills that they need. We have a, overwhelmingly white workforce within the education system. Only sort of, 8% of school leaders are of Black heritage, so we know that a lot of these people are not going to understand what it's like to experience racism as a student or in the workplace. I think a lot of the time we're still stuck in the debate of what is racism, what isn't racism, is that racist, is it not? And we need teachers and school staff that are confident in recognising what that looks like, what that sounds like, and being proactive in dealing with it and calling it out. And unfortunately, I just don't think that's the case at the moment. We need that foundational knowledge. We need to be listening to what our students are saying. And also we need to see increased support for Black teachers and teachers of colour. And the pressure is put onto them to deal with those issues. We need more support for them. And we need to make sure that the teachers are coming into the profession and staying in the profession.
Naomi Evans, thank you very much for joining us. You're watching South Today. Good to have you with us.